that was a transitional time for the band, and we had a lot through the years, but because we had toured a lot off of our first Goatee release, and it was one of those things where I think we had wanted to start our second record like way before we actually got to, like before the label was ready to go ahead and do it. And I had actually stopped touring with the band for like probably a year before we got together to write The End Is Not the End. So I wasn't seeing them like much. I was just living in Columbus, Ohio, working. I just got married, dealing with a lot of stuff. And so Jared was now, Colin's brother, was now the touring bass player. And they were playing a bunch of songs from the first Goatee release. And they were touring a lot. And I think that Tim and Colin were tired. Like Colin was married at the time. He's still married. And I think that maybe a baby was on the way. If not, one had just been born for Colin. So there was like a lot of exhaustion. And with me not being on the road, I think Tim took more of like a leadership role, like did almost all of the driving and was like the kind of tour managing and stuff. Right. And so I think there was a lot of burnout. And Tim and I began talking kind of touching base on eventually doing another record. And I didn't honestly know if I was going to be involved, to be honest with you, because I was transitioning from like trying to like be like a regular like dude who has a normal job and like has a like trying to start a family, and still feeling like I didn't want to do any of that. I wanted to play music, period, you know? And I mean, I stayed there for like 20 years. So like on that mindset, so I should have known. But you know, I was trying something new and it was not satisfying. And so I think me and Tim kind of reconnected when we kind of started just writing music only for this next project. And we didn't even know when we were going to record it or who we were going to record it with. We didn't know the budget, like what was going to be from Goatee or how we were going to be able to afford it or any of that. But I remember that as we started to kind of write again, Tim and I, it kind of all came back where I was like super inspired again. And I really wanted to be back in the band, like full time. But yeah, so I think there was a lot of exhaustion at the time of like right before we actually started to work on this record. And like that kind of burnout of being on the road a lot, like it's pretty brutal. Like it makes it hard to be creative. So I think in a way I actually was able to avoid some of that. And I think like I was ready to go creatively, like 100% because I was missing it. Whereas the guys who were dealing with it every day were probably a little bit sick of each other. They were tapped out. Yeah, for sure. That's fascinating to have a member that like took a beat, right? Yeah. And like, because you did that, you were able to kind of like draw from this well of creative energy that they didn't have. I just have to imagine that really informed like the flavor and the sound and the style of this album. Yeah, I think that
in an interesting way.
Yeah, and like a lot of our records, like there's a percentage of it where it's like it started because the band or members of the band were like just jamming together and like made like a little musical piece that was cool. And then it's like, okay, we have that piece and we're going to write some lyrics and some melodies for that. Or then there's like another percentage where it's like Tim will just have an entire idea and it's like he won't have words. He'll just send me like Lose Control as an example of a song that was like he just had like 6 different riffs and he put them all together and Lose Control. And then he sent and I think at the time he recorded like on a tape recorder, like him going da, 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 like just like singing
singing syllables
and then he gave them to me and then I wrote words to it. And then there's like another percentage of the songs that are like I had like the basic chord structure and the lyrics and a little bit of melody, often not all of it. And then Tim and Colin would kind of suss it out and make it more melodic. So all of us kind of contributed in that way, kind of in different ways. But I think it makes the records kind of more, I guess, eclectic because of that.
Yeah.
So when y'all are writing, is the music always coming first, or do you guys like do you have like, oh, I want to write a song, and you have lyrics at the same time, or what?
If the song is
like?
Especially for that record in that era of us, if the song is like riffy, it was music first, and like we weren't even thinking about lyrics or melody until later when I was going back and trying to find some lyrics, and often it would be the riff, and Tim or Colin would actually have like a melody at least for like a chorus section, but still no words. And then I would like plug in the words later, and I would show them my own tape version of like me trying to sing over their melodies, and then they would then take it back and make it like polished and good sounding, basically.
I love that. Wow.
Yeah,
that's such a fascinating approach to songwriting.
Yeah,
it's
more different than anything I've ever done since. But that's the way we always did it. Like it was like very much like everyone was trying to do something, and none of us could do all of it ourselves. So it worked as a band, you know.
Yeah, you had to kind of like tap into each other's creative flow and style and strengths.
Yep,
that's so cool. And what's cool is like hearing the album, I would never have guessed that was the process. Not in a million years.
Right. Yeah.
But like knowing that makes it all the more like rich to me. Like to hear the final product, you know?
Yeah. And that again, that goes, I think, like, cause every time that I listen to that record or hear songs from that record, I'm like, man, it's so polished. Like, and it's like, it is crazy to think that that these ideas could come from in such a disjointed way, and it could end up being that polished.
Yeah.
But I think that again is like that thing where like we practiced all the time. Like, and when we rehearsed for like an album, it was like even more intense. It was like, we're going to practice these songs till we just so sick of them, so that we can go in and just, because we didn't have enough money to stay in the studio. So like we needed Colin to finish drums in like 1 or 2 days, and we needed me to finish bass in 1 day. And we needed Tim to do the guitars and the doubles in like 2 or 3 days, because we really only had like 6 or 7 days. So, you know, we felt like we had to just be perfect, you know?
Yeah.
That's insane, man.
So, how did you guys get connected with Mark Lee Townsend to produce the record?
That had to be, I mean, that was definitely a goatee connection.
Goatee. Yeah.
Well, okay. But also,
can we actually, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can we actually take a step back, and I want to hear about the connection to Goatee for the first time. Like, how did y'all get connected with Goatee?
So with Goatee, it was we did the first House of Heroes record that was like on a record label, Say No More. It was like it wasn't called Say No More yet. Like we had recorded it before we signed. And basically, it was we began recording it with like kind of a indie label out of Orange County, California. We didn't really have any money but they were cool and they loved our band. And we didn't have anything at the time. So we were like, yeah, we'll do it. And that deal kind of fizzled out. And we had this record that we were like ready to release. But we didn't have a label. And Grant, our buddy Grant, who we went to church with, he had moved to Nashville, and he had started working for Monoverse Stereo, which was like the Goatee imprint.
Right.
And that's how we met Brad Moist, who was running Mono for years. I think he only just recently moved to a different job. Like he was there for like 20 years. And we also had, you know, being from Columbus, Ohio, like the Reliant K guys were just from up in Akron. And so we had played like a show or two with them, and they were doing great. They were starting to blow up, like, you know, relatively, but also they were starting to actually blow up. And so, and they were signed to Goatee, and then they were later upstream to Capitol Records. Well, what got us to sign with Goatee / Monoverse Stereo was that they had just upstreamed Reliant K to Capitol Records, because Capitol basically purchased Goatee Records for a couple of years. And so it was really Capitol was the big company that was funding some of Goatee's money. So we were like, dude, if we can get on Capitol, that'd be awesome. And we didn't have a lot of other options. Like we did know people at Tooth and Nail, but we also at the time were hearing so many like horror stories from bands who had signed to Tooth and Nail.
Yeah.
And the guys from Goatee just seems like we knew a few people already, and they just seemed so much more cool, and like they weren't going to screw us over. And that's what every band was terrified of back then, because so many bands were getting just like into awful deals.
Yep.
And it's ironically, it's 1,000 times worse now, but even back then it was like, that was like a thing. And so that's how we kind of ended up with Goatee. And it was like, and the band never did get upstream to Capitol, because Capitol pulled their funding and basically Goatee bought themselves out like 2 years later or whatever. But we ended up being on Goatee, and they were really cool. And we never would have met Mark Townsend or worked with him if not for that, obviously, because he was like their go-to producer.
Right.
So,
right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Dude, in this album, like, just because we're talking about him, I have to say it, like, it's got some MLT fingerprints.
Oh yeah, dude.
All
over
dude,
it.
It's
in the
so
best
funny.
way. In the
it's
best
so
way.
funny, like that. I didn't put that together until
I can't believe
we started this recording.
Like,
but now, like in retrospect, I'm
you
like,
didn't catch that.
Oh yeah. No, that makes so much sense.
Oh,
like,
all of the gang vocals.
I was going to say all the gang vocals.
all the harmonies, like all the things.
Staple.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Some of the guitar tone, like there's some fun little Easter eggs for sure.
No, that's great.
and Mark was like, he's one of the biggest Beatles fans I've ever met. Like
I feel
the
like
way that I know every song, like he can play you any song ever by the Beatles.
Oh yeah,
right.
And so he like found out that we were kind of into that like group singing thing and harmonies. And I mean, not me, like I barely sang back then. It was Tim and Colin and Jared were just great singers. And so he found out that was like a possibility. He was like, oh, like every song.
Oh, I love
like,
that.
We got to do it.
That.
Yeah, there's a third, there's a fifth.
Every song has it.
It's like,
Not to go off on too much of a tangent, AJ, but like on that topic, like, so you mentioned earlier, and just to kind of be transparent, like this is an album that somehow missed me in the moment when it came out.
That's fair, brother.
No, but I was absorbing so much from the world and the scene that you guys were a part of, and so it's great. Like I just have to say this, it's crazy to me that this one missed me, but it's so good. And I only recently realized that or learned that you were like a principal part of the lyrical songwriting, and so it's so fascinating to me that you say like, oh, I don't sing, but you write the lyrics. Like just as a songwriter, I'm just so fascinated by that, and again, your kind of piecemeal approach as a band of like, oh, they had like a melody line, they had a riff, and then like I put some lyrics to it, and then they reworked like how the lyrics were going to work within a melodic context. That I don't know if I have a question, but it's just fascinating to me,
just
and like
rad as hell.
It is honestly like I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's it's the coolest thing.
I got you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. But like I love like just talking to different songwriters and different musicians and learning about their approach and their process, and like this is a first. I have to tell you, like this is a first, and I love that you're that kind of writer and player, that you can like hear things and kind of like put the pieces together and then kind of combine your strengths with those of this unit of a band, these like essentially brothers of yours that get what you're hearing, and they can like execute it in a way where like it becomes greater than the sum of the parts, right? So it's just so cool.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because I think I learned to sing through the process of doing all that, and then I eventually later moved to Nashville and became like a full-time songwriter, like for years. And that's what taught me how to sing or like carry a tune. But like back then it was like the lack of being able to do it. And Mark Townsend always talked about this. He talked about how like a lot of times like your inadequacies or the things that you can't do are what make a record unique. Yep. And he talked about like that first Relient K record where he was like, they literally back then, they didn't know what they were doing, like musically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like there's a rawness about it. And that's then for them to become what they became, you know, as such a talented band, and Thiessen being such an incredible songwriter, it's like, it's crazy that it can start so disjointed. And House Heroes was that way in the sense of, I think we were all really obsessed with being really good at playing our instruments, but we were all very comfortable with what we weren't very good at, and we worked together. And that's just spending a ton of time together.
So how did y'all land on that process of you being like not necessarily a singer at the time, but being like a primary songwriter? Like how did
that
y'all
started?
Sort of
I mean,
settle on that?
That started back with No Tag Backs, our kind of first pop punk version of our band, of Tim, Colin, and I. And I don't know.
Did it just bubble up organically? Like it just was like, oh, AJ's was just writing lyrics.
Everyone was like, hell yeah, this guy knows what to write. Like we'll go
I think so. I mean, sweet. Like it was like we'd do the thing where there'd be some music and Colin and Tim would have some melody, or, you know, every once in a while I'd be like, they'd actually have some words in like a chorus, and then, but they didn't have any verses. And then I'd be like, well, just like sing me what you think it should be. And then I would just come back the next practice, like having written stuff in my notebook, you know?
Oh, that's so cool.
And then Tim would just like try to read my notebook and like put the words, and, you know, there would be some too many syllables or not enough. And he would just like change it a little bit and like make it work. And it's funny because it created like an unexpected like thing. Like it was always like, oh, I didn't know he was going to sing it that way, you know, but he actually made it.
Yes.
But like, I liked his way better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it like opened up another avenue of creativity where it was like, neither of us was really controlling it. You know what I mean? It was like, and it just kind of came out how it came out, and it was really cool. So
yeah, that's really
so
cool. Rad. Oh, I love this.
I saw in an interview you were talking about, for a lot of the songs on this record, that like for your writing process involved like reading books, watching documentaries and stuff like that. Is that your normal process, or was that like mainly for this record? And then which songs did come out of that, or were there ones that you just like were able to write lyrics off without any of that?
So I'd say like 80% of it was for this record, and this was different than other records. But like I literally just got obsessed with like Ken Burns, like the Ken Burns documentary about World War II. Like I got obsessed, bro. And I watched that thing like 4 or 5 times, and then I started reading books like about World War II. And like I just got so deep into it, and it was super inspiring to me, like especially that Ken Burns doc, like just the
Okay. Can we just I just have to, I'm so sorry, AJ. I have to just like, we have to call out Ken Burns documentaries.
Oh, they're awesome, bro.
I think are like way more of an inspiration for art than people even realize, especially for specific types of people.
Absolutely.
So I watched the Ken Burns country music documentary series, and me and my wife wrote an entire country album after watching that. It's just like it's hard to not watch those and be like, oh, that is cool as hell. Like the baseball one, the jazz one, just okay. Shout out Ken Burns. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm so excited.
Give it up. Give it up for Ken.
Ken's a great one.
Everyone, friend of the pod, Ken Burns.
he should come on the show sometime.
Oh, he should. I'm gonna try to get Ken Burns. All right,
just talk.
Just a soft pitch. He'll be down for it, I'm sure.
but like that for me was like 80% of that was like, it was all those songs where it's like we had started music and there were some melodies there, but it's like in those times when I have to like sit, because right before recording too, and like the weeks before, there's always 2 or 3 songs I don't have words for yet. Like that's kind of a common thing that has happened on many records. And it was like I could just pull from like all this stuff I was inspired by from like
I love that because like songs
II.
without lyrics are vessels essentially, right?
Yeah,
For story. They're just like right there ready to go, and you're like, well, I got all these stories, so all I have to do is like make them my own and like fit them, so they work inside this vessel.
Yeah, and
it's so rad.
It was to the point where like it was we almost could have made it like a full on concept record, but like I think
it feels so close to that.
Like we were a little scared to go that far. Like we were like, sure, can we make it like it? Like even like back then we knew like that would be a little pretentious, right? Like we were like,
well, and like House of Heroes, like as a band, I don't know if the vibe is like World War II, right? Like not necessarily.
No, it's
right?
not.
Like you guys are, So like, I think it was cool that there were like a handful that had that element, but like it wasn't.
Yes, for sure.
Over the top,
right?
Well, I was curious now that obviously some time has been removed from it. And there's like this question of like, is this a concept record? Is it? And y'all even talked about it like it's heavily themed. And I was just curious, like how you see the songs now. Like, are the songs that like maybe don't necessarily fit into that theme? Do you still view them as like, well, it still does fit in this world? Like, if you want to view it through that, or like, do you see it as like it's just a regular record that just has little themed parts to it, or I don't know. How you feel
like
about it now.
I almost think of it as if there were like 5 or 6 less songs on it. It is a concept record, and we could have really gone into it. And I think there is definitely a part of me that now is like, I kind of wish we just would have like, and it doesn't mean I don't like the other songs. Like I love Sooner or Later. Like I love that song, but like, and like Drown and like a bunch of those songs, but like you could take those songs out and make like a 39 minute record, and it would be all super focused, and then it would have been a concept record. Now, would that be too much? Because sometimes with concept records, it feels like, oh, it's just too much of this one thing. And I don't know if it would be as enjoyable to listen to if it was all just one thing. But like, I do often think like we could have just done full on war, like a full war album. Like that's it. And that would have been kind of cool. But
totally.
You know, I'm glad we put all the songs that were on it out. Like, I don't regret any of the songs. So,
for sure,
get that.
Great, yeah,
that makes sense.
I had a really good question.
I got one.
Can't remember. Okay,
do you have any moments, AJ, that looking back in the studio, like where you were like, as a band or even as an individual, like hitting a wall, and how you kind of like got over it or through it or under it?
I mean, I think that
come up where like there were challenges and you kind of like blasted your way through.
I think the biggest challenge for the way that we tracked that one with Mark was, it was super low budget. And so we did it all at his little garage studio in Franklin, Tennessee, like just in his garage at his house, which meant we didn't have the like sonic space to really all play together and get us all tracked at the same time, like we would do on later records, which is way more fun. Like it's way more fun to track that way, because it's all it's like it's just your band playing and you're really in the moment, and it feels like super exciting because you can play and 5 minutes later go into the booth and be like, here's what your song basically sounds like, and it sounds awesome and you're like amped. But we had to do it piecemeal. So like all the drums and then all the bass, and then Tim double tracked the guitars. So the hardest thing about it was, like for me, I always took the shortest amount of time because I'm the bass player, and like I was super on top of it, and it's easy to record bass compared to guitar or especially drums.
Yeah.
So
for sure,
Colin would just kick ass for 2 days, and then I would go for a day, and then we'd be in Guitar World, and which meant Colin and I were just shooting hoops in the driveway of Mark's house for like 3 days. And it was insane because they were just like, I kept feeling like, do we have to double this guitar too? Like, I only got one bass. And that would piss me off a little bit. Like, okay. But like, you know, I would later like become a producer and like learn like, you kind of want the stereo image or whatever. Yeah. But like back then I was like,
for sure,
that or whatever. So like, it was just like, it was mostly just boring. Like, and that was the hardest thing, was just like waiting. But the cool thing about the way Mark did it too is like once we got to vocals, it would be like Tim would sing the lead, and then we would do a lot of those group vocals where once again, like, and I wasn't singing very much back then, but I'd be in the booth and they would teach me a part, and we do like 3 or 4 part harmony around the lead line together. And so like it was fun because it was like it was challenging, and all of a sudden like we were like together in it again. So I think that helped get through those like just boring ass days like of listening to guitars over and over, because that like also that kills your ears, just so much guitar. Like, but yeah, like
seriously,
we never like really fought in the studio or any of that. Like we always had kind of worked out like what we wanted and our expectations like within each other always before we hit the studio. So
nice.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Well, especially with recording so many songs. There's so many songs on here.
Yeah, why we do some? Yeah, that's
I wanted to ask you that. Yeah.
like I know like there were the bonus songs which we didn't record in the initial process. Like,
what was the idea on that? Was the label like, "Hey, 15 songs is not enough to entice listeners. We need more." Like,
yeah, it was the label. It was like, if we do these couple of extra songs, we can do like a bonus EP and we can sell that. Like, and so, I mean, they were like, so just do some acoustic songs basically is what, and like, we're like, okay, you know, we have some songs, we can do that.
I just gotta say, like, those 2 songs are enough of like a concept genre wise or like sound wise that y'all could have split off and just been like a folk band. And like,
yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like you could have been like an Americana rock band, and like I would have been totally here for that version of House of Heroes as well.
Yeah, and like
it's so cool.
Those were like, they told us like we want to do like really stripped down stuff, and I think with that we might have also done like an acoustic version of If, and maybe like one other song from the record. I'm not sure which one, but like I think once we got into that world, it was fun to kind of write in that world because it was new for us. Like we were always like a band like. We didn't want to put acoustic guitar in anything, so it was like new to like actually like just like, oh, let's get in a room and just quietly
lean
like
into that.
like play acoustic guitars and see what. So that was super fun, but yeah, like it wasn't super related to the record. But even still, there would have been like 15 tracks you said on like the initial release.
And 14, I guess if you don't count the
14.
Intro.
Okay,
yeah.
So like all I can say is like we were like all like big fans of records that had too many songs, I guess. Like, and like we loved like
that's the White Album coming out. Yeah.
And like and because we all kind of wrote in different ways, like there was a lot of ideas, like, and so it was like, well, let's just keep trying to finish the songs. And Mark wasn't, I think Mark might have actually been the first to say like this should only be like 11 or 12 songs. But then he would hear like the demos of the other songs, he'd be like, okay, well that one's got to go on there. And like, because
so it's like, Mark's fault. It's Mark's fault. That's what we're learning.
Yeah. I mean, he was only getting paid for like 10 songs, and technically we were only getting paid for 10 songs.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but that's
but like,
because he's like,
we'll make it work. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
He totally.
Oh, it's incredible.
He kind of became like us, where he's like, no, I still like that song. Let's see if we can track it too. And we ended up kind of moving so quickly that we had enough time to fit the songs in. So, we put them out like,
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Especially since it helps since it had been like a couple years since the last record too, to kind of be like, okay, it's been a while. Here's a lot of songs, everyone.
Yeah. And like, that was, I mean, that era of music was kind of like that too, though. Cause like Muse was a band that we all three of us loved, and like they put these giant records out. Like, it would be the same thing, like 15 songs, and there was always so much content. And it was like, back then it was like, I don't know, like now it's like, it feels like, oh, if you give them too many songs, like you're just like wasting it. But like back then, I don't know, like people bought albums, and like still like actual physical albums. And I don't know, like it just felt like it meant more if you put more songs on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It could have also been like,
no, it did.
Insecurity on our part, because like, well, just put so many songs that,
There'll be something they like.
I'm gonna stop you there, AJ. Like that was the precedent. That was the expectation. Like that was the world that we lived in. Like there was an expectation for longer albums and like and having like a weight, like a gravitas, a substance in what you're doing from front to back, not just front loading it, not just putting singles out. And like you guys did it. You delivered a proper record and it's killer, man. Like
thanks, man. Thank you.
I hope you can hear that today. Like I hope you've heard it 1,000 times, but
it's I know that we're all like super proud of that one. And like it feels like it's like, like it feels like not necessarily, I don't know if we peaked there, but we like hit the level that we wanted to be at as far as like where we felt like we could write really great songs and perform them really well. I think that was the first one that we really hit that level. And
do you feel like Mark Lee Townsend figured you guys out as a band? Like, do you think he took what your raw vision was and like honed it and made you better?
Yeah.
Or do you think he like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes bands get in a room with the producer and it's like, kind of shapes them into his vision. But like, I'd love to hear about, kind of your experience with him as producer.
I think that Mark was perfect for that record. And then we did the next one with him too. He was perfect for both of those records because like Tim and Colin and then Jared in the band. And then even eventually Eric, who was with the band from Suburba on, they're all like really good singers. And so there was always a thing of like, let's sing too. Like let's be like that giant, like classic rock sounding, like Queen-esque type thing. And that is like, I don't think we knew that was going to be so right up Mark's, like right in his wheelhouse. But again, it was like that Beatles thing was like, that's the way he thinks of rock music is like through that lens. And so it was like, once he found out that people could sing, he was like, oh, we're all singing. And it was perfect for the kind of songs that we were writing at the time, like very dramatic songs. And so he was perfect for those two records. And I think he pushed us to be even more of that than we would have been, which is cool. But it never felt like outside of anyone's comfort zone for sure. Like, I feel like we just happened to be a perfect kind of marriage. And he was also like an Ohio guy. So it was like all of us, I don't know. I think we had like a shared kind of
There's like a shared language.
Yes, it is.